When I made Many Mansions, while the conviction didn't initially hit when I was creating it, after the fact, I realized that I was creating out of my own strength, trying to prevent something from happening that essentially could have been God's will, but because I was afraid of it, I didn't want to enter into it, or just I didn't want to see what it was going to potentially be like on the other side because I viewed it as failure. Then I tried to prevent it, which caused myself even more damage. Um, Even just reflecting on it even more, just over the past couple of days, I would almost compare it to how when Moses went to the mountaintop to get the Ten Commandments, and the Israelites were down at the bottom, and they took the gold that they just got from the Egyptians when they crossed the Red Sea, and they melted it down and made a golden calf out of it, not because they were eager to leave God, but just in the absence, because of course they didn't really know God like that. And then here's Moses, this leader who honestly they didn't have a strong or close relationship to him either. So everything that they had just become like acquainted with essentially had left them. So in that they turned back to the old things. I would say Many Mansions was my golden calf, or the start of me erecting my own golden calf. Track Many Mansions represents what it sounds like when we get off track and we start constructing our own idols, in the sense of a lot of times when we start talking about tearing down altars and false idols and making things gods, they have this ugly connotation to them. But in real life, is a lot of things that looks good, it looks promising, it looks shiny. So even the name like Many Mansions, not just even intentionally like after the fact, but even during the process, um, I was already thinking it was supposed to be something that shimmered. It was me straddling the fence. I gave it the title Many Mansions because it was something that if you're a believer and you're in your word a little bit, in John 14 he talks about my father, has many mansions and stuff like that. So you think of that promise and it sounds good. But then in the worldly or the secular sense, everybody want mansions. Everybody want to, have that, especially after hustling, and grinding. You finally make it to the top. You finally get to buy the house for your moms. You get to buy the ride. It sounds good. It was something that was identifiable to anybody, no matter what your spiritual take or belief was. And so that was my way of balancing between, okay, I can catch the ear of this side and that side and generate something to happen. So that way, no matter what God's plan is for whatever's going to happen, at least in my own strength, I can create this and make something good come about and still keep it afloat. This beat is for the double minded person to go back and reconsider or reevaluate their heart posture and their intentions for whatever it is that they're chasing after. That's why I included, certain parts of the beat, mainly the parts towards the end where Kanye says, "Come and have a good time with God." I think somebody like Kanye saying something like that is super significant. One is because we know him and his stance with him having songs like "I Am a God," on that. Um, and I can keep going down the line as far as like how he went Christian and then he flopped that because he said God didn't give him what he wanted. So he essentially made himself a God because I'm gonna always give myself what I want. But then following that, I have the sample come back in saying, I can tell there's something, is strange. What I do to make this change? It's the duality. Like, yeah, come and have a good time. It's like, but as you sitting there partying, you getting your groove on, you're like, wait, something don't feel right here. It kind of reminds me of like the old commercial back in the '90s, the Got Milk commercial, where the dude was like a jerk, a butthole. He was like a lawyer, he's firing people, and he steps out in traffic, get hit by a car. He wakes up, and he's like in this white place, and he's like, "Ha, I'm in heaven." Almost like I cheated the system, and I still got it. Like, look at me, and he's walking around like, "Look at this," enjoying it. It's like a plate full of cookies, and he's biting into the cookies, enjoying them. Now he's got a mouthful of cookies. Now he's thirsty. Goes to a big refrigerator, and it's stacked full of milk, and he's like, "Oh, I hit the jackpot." He goes to one cart and it's empty. All right, fine. Goes to another one, and then before long he's going through all of them. He's like, wait a minute, where am I? And then the got milk pops up with the flames on there. It's essentially, it's not quite that far, but it's leading up to that. Like, just because it looked good doesn't mean that's God. But it's a cautionary tale of being reminded that even something good can represent something bad. I almost felt a little guilty as I realized like the spiritual implications behind the beat because it is so catchy. It sounds so good. It was like, dang, I might have made this too good to where the meaning, the real meaning, may go over people's heads. In the creation process, I talked about how I had the dual voices, like the one that was pitched up versus the one that was lower, and where a lot of times we associate something being high with being good because it's light, it's airy, it makes you feel love, or something dark is deep, is usually evil or the opposite. But then, depending on your take on it, depending on where you are in life, kind of determines how you interpret that. But essentially, how you can have both voices playing in your head and they sound good together. But depending on what God, capital or lowercase g, is serving, will determine number one, which one you follow and what that means for you. When I was making it initially, which is the first part of the beat, I was still like spiritually being blinded by just my own selfish ambitions, my desire, what I wanted to come about. So that was my pursuit in that. In which case, I was successful in what I created. Then, after coming to the realization, like, man, I got off track. Not only I got off track, but now I'm going to tell that and put that in the story for volume 3. Then I had to go back and try to make something that essentially sounded like that. And then I realized, man, I really was off track because I can't get back in that same, mind frame or just even that same creative space because now I'm creating with the Holy Spirit again, and I can't tap into that same sound because that's not where I'm not, I'm not there anymore spiritually. But then even further realization, and I even just got this morning as I was just really thinking on the conversations that I've been having the last couple of days, just regarding what's going on behind the scenes spiritually and mentally with me. And as we know, like in the Bible, it says that the relationship between the church and Christ is a marriage, where the bride, he's the bridegroom. And when I was really starting to think about it and talk about it the other day, I realized like there was something still, I guess, maybe buried in there, and I couldn't figure out was that Holy Spirit bringing it back to my remembrance because it needed to be illustrated for somebody else who might be going through it, or who may go through it, soon, or recently, currently, whatever. Or was it something that was still buried in me that I had left unresolved? And the analogy, and they left it open ended too, was like a marriage. Like, let's just say something I have experienced with infidelity. There's been infidelity, you've gotten over it, y'all reconciled, y'all come back together, but have you actually talked about it? To say, like, this is what I was going through, this is why I was hurting, this is, my feelings and everything going on with it. Or do we just say, hey, it's water under the bridge, we're good now, and move on forward with it? And that's something I'm still kind of sitting with, because where I thought, yo, it was good, I thought, like, I got off track, that's my bad, I'm sorry. And I think a lot of times we look at it like, because God is omniscient, omnipresent, all these things, he's all knowing, that we don't ever want to come to him like his bride and be like, yo, I'm hurt because of this. Even if we misread it, got the signals mixed up and stuff like that, he's such a gracious bridegroom, father, God, that he allows us to come to him with the real. And that's something I'm still actually kind of having to sort out. Like, maybe I didn't go to him all the way and be like, yo, this is where I was at. And I feel like that's important, not just for myself, but for others that are going through it, to be that real and transparent. Because if you bury those things, thinking you're just going to move on and go to the next thing, when something else in life pulls on that string again, you have the potential to relapse even harder because you never dealt with it, you never resolved it and got it right with God, and you weren't vulnerable enough to be real with him so that he can love on you, to get you through that, to learn that lesson. As my wife told me recently, whatever you don't go through and learn from, you're gonna repeat until you get it, get it right. That people who hear this track and only hear this track should walk away with. One, don't be like Andre 3000 said on Hey Ya. Don't just want to dance and not hear the message, because there's something deeper in there. I would also say nothing is too small or even too deep, too hurtful, that you can't take it to God, even if you don't fully understand where you're at. The moment where you feel like something is off, even if you can't describe it or really put it in perspective, that's the time to sit and it's gonna look different for everybody else. Like I'm a very fast moving, fast paced person, so I don't like to sit, or even if I'm sitting, my mind is still moving. But just finding those ways that Howard he communicates with you, which is again why I say like it's like a marriage, it's a relationship. You have to know how to communicate, not only how to talk to him, but then how to allow him to talk to you and listen for those things. For me, a lot of times, and I may get pushback or whatever on this, he uses songs to talk to me. Uh, there is this song, I believe it's a secular song. It's called "I Don't Know." It's from like a time where I was in the world and stuff like that. But in my prayer time today, it wasn't like he played the whole song, but it was just that "Where did you go?" And the person responds, "I don't know." And it reminded me of like the story with Adam when he was in the garden and he ate the fruit, and then God said he was calling like, "Adam, where are you?" And instead of Adam responding, right, he hid, clothed himself, and then said, "Hey, we hid because we were naked." Instead of being like, "No, I done messed up," or like in my case, I don't know where I'm at anymore. Like I'm emotionally vulnerable. Like I don't know where I am. But even saying that to God, it's not like he don't already know the answer, but he's just waiting for you to come to him. So that would be the one thing I want them to take away from it. Like no matter where you're at, they'll go to him, especially on those hurt times, because that's when it's most important. I keep hearing, I've heard this saying a couple of times in the last couple of weeks. What you don't take or talk to God about, the enemy automatically has your ear to talk to you about it. The divine flip for me in this case was after making this beat and several other beats that were patterned with the same heart posture and same intention, when I started like taking them out and shopping them to people in the world. And then when I started getting reception and feedback and essentially becoming a part of that community, it was like each time I would go a step further, it was that part at the end of the beat that something feels strange. I remember like the first time I went to like this producer function where they allow people to come up and just play songs off of it. They had a raffle going on. They're like, "Hey, we giving out a free drink tonight or whatever." Who of all people wins the free drink? Your boy. So I'm like, now, not that I don't win stuff, but like, what are the odds of me just walking in here just winning this free drink? This feels weird, but I'm gonna enjoy this free alcoholic beverage. And then after that, hey, I want to partner with you. Hey, I want to work with you. I want to get on that beat. Okay, yeah, let's do it. And then I go into the space and I was like, they got Sage in here? I mean, I used to pride myself of being a weed smoker, but y'all talking about making a Christian album. We smoking weed up in here? Mm-mm. Hey, you making a Christian album? How many scriptures you done read for this? You ain't read the Bible? This don't feel right here. And it was just more and more scenarios to where it's like, all right, there's too many red flags to me ignore. Like, I'm not supposed to be here. Like, you ain't even gotta Jonah me. You ain't gotta throw me off the boat. I see myself off the boat before y'all even leave the dock. No, you're not gonna jump on, man. We about to go ride over here. It's gonna be a good time. We gonna make some money. You sure, man? Nah, man. Y'all going without me. Y'all make the money. I'm cool. My position my position on where I was at with God and who I was doing it for changed between making this song literally, and the audience gets to hear that real time, between the first part of the beat to then the change, even me adding the Gil Scott Heron part where it says, these songs are the breadcrumbs, not for those who want to go back, those who want to follow. Like I've said before, follow along with the story and then follow me to Christ, and follow me as I follow Christ. But then uh, even the fact that initially beforehand it was just ManyMansions, the first part of the beat. That was my golden calf. That was essentially follow me down the path of idolatry and idol worship. Post coming back into Christ and renewing our relationship is where you get the Gil Scott Heron, which echoes the follow me as I follow Christ, to get the rest of the story. So literally the second part, even though I'm still essentially, I still got to take you down the rabbit hole. That's where I was going to go. Again, not to quote Jay-Z, but just very much the story of Hove did that. So hopefully you won't have to go through that. This is me telling you what happened with me. Follow me in the storyline But don't follow what I did. Learn from my mistakes, as every parent says to their kid. You know, like you ain't got to be hard headed to get this lesson. Like if it look like a duck, run away. Again, flee from sin. You know, resist the devil and he will flee. So again, follow me as I follow Christ. In essence, is to flee from the devil. You hear this song, you're gonna nod your head, but keep in mind that everything that is good ain't always God or God's will for you. This is what the start of idolatry sounds like.